As someone who has spent ages trying to find the perfect device for university, I've looked around and thought long and hard about what device will suit my needs in lectures, in halls, or just out and about in daily life. And no matter where I look, I keep coming back to the iPad Pro. And look, I'm going to be honest, I've seen the adverts where Apple say, "What is a computer?" and I don't agree that this is a laptop replacement. This can't replace my MacBook Pro, but instead this provides me with a form of visual planning, an ability to write down all my thoughts in one place and keep them consistent and organised. And at least for me, heading into a creative university course, that's pretty much perfect. But that doesn't mean that it's restricted to only creativity. Because the great thing about the iPad Pro is that you can expand it to meet your needs no matter what you're studying. Whether you want a laptop replacement for writing essays and note-taking, or a more interactive device for photo or video editing and even digital art creation, the iPad Pro seems to be one of the most well-rounded Apple devices out there that can be made to adapt to any use case, instead of forcing you to adapt to a certain set of limitations. Now, you may have noticed by now, but the iPad I'm using here is not the 2020 model. It's actually the 2018 or 19 model, which can be bought for just about half the price of that newer revision. And all you lose is one CPU core, the rear LiDAR sensor, and the secondary camera that the new model has. All things that I would call non-essential upgrades. The 2018 model still has the exact same display, the exact same battery, and the software experience, and is honestly so much better value for money than the newer 2020 model is, in my opinion. But before we get into what makes the iPad Pro so perfect for university, I wanted to take a minute to talk about today's sponsor, Skillshare. Now, I'm sure you've already heard about the thousands of inspiring classes that Skillshare has. You can learn anything from videography to creative writing, all from experts who teach because they love their craft. One of my favourite classes since joining has been a creative breakthrough class that has taught me how to embrace my own style and has taught me the good habits to avoid creative block. Whether you want to learn a new craft or turn your current one into a profession, Skillshare can take you where you want to go, no matter what your current skill level is. With the amount of remote learning that we're all going to be doing in university, what better way to spend the free time that we'll have than by learning a new skill from Skillshare? And it can open so many doors for you. So the first 1,000 of you guys to sign up with my link down below will get a 2-month free trial of the premium membership, so you can explore all the creativity and master a new skill. Check out the link in the description below to become a member and to master that skill that you've always wanted to learn. Possibly the best part about the iPad Pro is its display. Whether you get the 2018 or 2020 model, the display is identical. And if precision is your thing, then the bezels on this iPad are sure to be pleasing, with a uniformity and weirdly good tolerance for single-handed use. At an 11-inch size, it's the perfect blend of screen real estate and portability, and it's about half the size of a 15-inch MacBook Pro, making it easy to throw in a bag and take anywhere with you. It's also ridiculously thin, which makes it feel way ahead of its time. As for the display, well, it has a great brightness range for use in sunlight or late at night, a decent resolution, and the typical colour accuracy you can expect from an Apple product. There's really nothing to complain about here. For note-taking, the 120Hz refresh rate really sells the experience with the Apple Pencil and provides an excellent feel of realism throughout any app. It also makes multitasking, animation speeds, and every part of the iPad feel a whole lot smoother. Now, most of the time with 120Hz displays, battery life tends to suffer, and we've seen that quite a lot with smartphones in the past. But thanks to this iPad's almost 8,000 mAh battery, that's just not the case here. With the way that iOS presents itself and the way that almost every developer utilizes Apple's strict design language, this display harnesses what I consider to be the best of any user experience out there for a tablet of this size. It's a joy to watch Netflix on, particularly with the new picture-in-picture mode, and its albeit unusual aspect ratio feels so natural for something that is so reliant on touch-based input. And look, I'm going to be honest, if you don't have the Apple Pencil, you're going to cut your enjoyment of the iPad Pro in half at least. See, the iPad is so clearly designed around using the Apple Pencil that there's even a designated spot on the side of the iPad that it snaps to and charges from. If that doesn't tell you to get the pencil, then I don't know what will. There's clear cues within the software, like how you can tap the screen when it's off to instantly launch the notepad and start writing. That only happens with the pencil, and when you're writing notes, only the pencil can write, making your hand used for scrolling only. It's those subtle features that have been around since the beginning, and the newer features like the handwriting recognition and conversion to text that iPadOS 14 offers. All of that just shows how much this device and its software are so clearly designed to be used with the Apple Pencil. And after you get the Apple Pencil, all the other accessories out there are basically optional. You don't need to use a keyboard or even a case for that matter. You can get away with just the iPad and the pencil, and iPadOS is the reason why. Without a keyboard, you're going to use the on-screen typing, which, I'll be honest, isn't ideal in every situation, but the small keyboard mode makes it so much better. You can position that anywhere on screen and type like you would on any iPhone single-handed. But iPadOS 14 allows you to write in any text area and have it converted into text in real time. That really changes the game for me, and it means that the pencil can replace the need for using a keyboard completely. And at least for me, where I have my MacBook for longer writing tasks, I don't feel the need to have a keyboard on my iPad at all. Instead, I find myself using Lightroom and Photoshop a lot, which is where the USB-C port comes in really handy. Just like a MacBook, this USB 3.1 connector can be used with any one of the thousands of adapters out there, allowing you to edit photos directly from SD cards, back things up to high-capacity drives, and use any one of the multitude of devices that we all have lying around these days. And with a new Files app layout that feels more and more like macOS Finder with each revision, it's beyond exceptional what you can achieve with an iPad these days. Apple's ecosystem is another key element of the iPad Pro, but it's not necessary and it doesn't take over by any means. You can easily use this without owning another Apple product, but if you use an iPhone or a MacBook daily, things are a little bit easier. It can serve as a secondary monitor for video editing or watching Netflix while you work on a Mac, and of course all the file sync features of iCloud work seamlessly. So photo, file and note sync works between every one of my devices, so I can edit photos in Lightroom on my iPad and have them show up on my phone and my Mac wherever I want and whenever I want them to. For university, this means you'll be able to write notes in a rush and you can adjust them after the fact on another device. Or if you forget your iPad completely, chances are the document you're looking for will have been synced to your other devices. Now what matters the most to me with this device is the ease of use when I'm in university. And for note-taking, there's a lot of different apps out there that offer varying functionality and suit all kinds of use cases. But honestly, I find the Apple Notes to be the best for handwritten notes, purely because of how simple it is. Like I mentioned before, just tap the screen with a pencil and you can start writing notes instantly. With Face ID, just like any recent iPhone has, it feels natural to get into this device so quickly and get straight down to work. There's something to be said about how slick this device feels, and although some app developers have yet to make any iPad versions for their apps, there's still so many apps available that are made for productivity for the iPad that it negates the scaled up iPhone Instagram app that hasn't been changed in the past 10 years. Facebook, what are you doing? Some of my favourite apps include ones like Notion or Concepts. Notion has become my favourite organisation tool, and it really just shows how powerful the iPad can be. And Concepts, well, that's obviously for more designers and people who want to create things, but I like it and I kind of want to keep using it, if I'm honest, because I want to start planning things out. Not sure what, but it's there. Looking into the future, obviously if you're buying a 1 or 2 year old device, you're going to pay less, but that doesn't really mean that you'll be losing out in the long term. Because the iPad Pro is the top of the line device from Apple, and the difference between the model I have and the latest revision is so minor, it still feels like it's brand new, and odds are, it'll stay that way in the long term. The A12X CPU is quite honestly one of the snappiest experiences you will get. And sure, it might be a little bit slower than the A12Z, which has one more GPU core enabled, but when you're paying half the price, are you really going to notice the difference? Because paired with iOS 14, multitasking is just incredible with this iPad. With the addition of picture-in-picture, split screen and pop-out windows, there's so many ways to use this iPad to its fullest, and what's best is that it never hesitates in its performance. And look, not only have Apple shown how much they want to push the iPad as almost a direct competitor to the MacBook, but so have app developers. Adobe, for example, they've made the fully fledged Photoshop and Lightroom apps compatible with the iPad Pro. Apple have given it a file manager that is so similar to macOS, and most apps recognise this as a Mac, not an iOS device. It doesn't matter if you want a Mac replacement, or just something to edit photos on the go from. There's so much power on offer from this device that it'll last well beyond university for me. It's clear that going into the future, the iPad Pro is the way to go, and Apple themselves have shown their dedication to improving this device since its initial release. With an iPad Pro, you can kit it out to meet your needs: a keyboard or a mouse, a case or just the pencil. It's designed to suit any use case, which makes it the perfect device for new or existing students, no matter what you're studying.